Hola amigos and welcome along to the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez for the final race of season 23 of Psgl, the race of champions, where we pit the very best of the drivers who featured prominently in this particular campaign. Among those champions, runners-up, third place, and a few wildcards for good measure. I am Mark Alimonda, better known as Gaming Alimonda, and we are here at a track that had its first F1 race in 1963. And indeed, we saw a pretty interesting race in the real-life sport yesterday. And the lap record set by Valtteri Bottas back in 2018. And the last time we were here for Race of Champions was in Germany, which was won by Attrition, who will be hoping to become the first Psgl driver to win two Race of Champions since the F1 2015 game. So a quick look at this circuit, 4.3 kilometers, 17 corners here. In terms of the DRS zones, the majority of the overtaking action will be seen on DRS 1 and 2. Sector 1 very much like Monza in many respects, followed by two technical sections with the Autódromo corner cut out at the end for that spectacular stadium section, even if we don't get much overtaking there. But indeed, it's quite a tricky track to set up for here. And unlike most Psgl races, this is a 100% race, and some famous names have won the Race of Champions in the past, the likes of Remco, Big C, and PSgl Blizzard, just to name a few. We only had one Race of Champions in F1 2018. We may have several on this particular game. Now, in terms of the tyre choices, it is your usual selection of Pirelli rubber, the medium selection, and we may get some wet weather in this particular race, but we will find out shortly. Before we get to the qualifying action, which is well underway, let's have a look at the entrance then for this Race of Champions, the first on F1 2019. So in the McLaren we have the FP champion Tom AJ with AMS, a former FP champion himself. And then up next it will be two of the wildcards. Oh no, F7 I should say, S Boomer with Ponish Town in third place. We were going to have TAC here but could not make it this evening. And we have one of the wildcards, Ash Bess, a former F1 and FP champion back in season 19 Psgl, alongside Oysen, who was an F6 runner-up. And then in the next up, it is Racing Point, and these are the F5 guys, Tipson, and onto the podium. Onto the podium, incidentally, his final Psgl race for the time being, and perhaps ever, we shall see in the distant future. And then two of the wildcards, Warren Haig from F5 and F3 Sophie, who will be looking to impress out there on track today. And then in terms of the F4 drivers, we have Taze Leroy, the sole F4 representative in terms of non-wildcards. He was the F4 champion. F3 third place, Black Phoenix, a last-minute replacement. And then Sandman Kid, the F3 champion, and Leon. The closest run battle across Psgl was F3, and what a battle it was. Sandman Kid just about edging out Leon in that titanic battle at Abu Dhabi. And then at Red Bull, we have two of the F2 drivers. We have Will Murdoch, the champion, and Weme, the F2 champion. I'm not entirely sure if that's the correct way of saying it. I do apologise to him. And then we have the big guns, the F1 champion, two-time champion now, Lewis, looking for his first Race of Champions crown. Alongside him, the very impressive Sparks, who has done really well in his debut F1 campaign. And then two very affiliated names, the Race of Champions crown holder, Abiodun, and then PSgl Blizzard, a two-time F1 champion himself. So it is quite a field we have got for today's Race of Champions. So I'm really looking forward to the action here today. So let's get onto the track immediately. Qualifying is well underway. We've had about 3 minutes already. Starts at 7:30 for this particular one. So let's get onto track and see what is going on here in this particular session. So we're going on board, and that is Weme, who's on his outlap. Fair few drivers out there. So in terms of the strategy, well, we may see something similar to what we've seen in the real race yesterday, aiming for the one stop. But hopefully we'll get a few more two stops to make things a little bit more interesting. So see where we're at. So some early times, equal cars, in case you were wondering, for this particular race. Aberdeen for 1:14.556. We suspect that the pole time will be somewhere in the 1:13s for this particular track, maybe high 1:13, I should say. Will Murdoch goes P2. So let's have a look then, who else is out there at the moment. I'll go through a few stats of each league for this season for the particular representative. So let's have a look, first of all, at Lewis. Two-time champion now. He's had some dominant drives here, and he goes immediately into the low 1:13s. Nearly half a second faster than Abin, and he's the clear favourite to win here today from many observers. And, as he gets his calm down, let's see if there's an up. So in terms of Lewis, he won 4 races in F1 this season. very consistent drive. Only finished, when he actually raced, he only finished outside the top 10 once this season. And that was a dreadful race at... oh no, he actually didn't that time. So forget that they do it by points, not positions on the tables. And Sparks, well, he actually non-finished in his first race, but he went on to win twice at Belgium and the America rounds. Finished 34 points behind Lewis in the end. A few other names worth mentioning. Marquez and Blizzard, the two F1 drivers. Blizzard, of course, here as one of them. Now, we'll mention a last-minute replacement. Now, mentioned Tom AJ was in the intro, but he had to pull out last minute because of some last-minute interview commitments. Having an interview at 6 in the evening, that seems pretty weird to me, but hey, must be all-nighter kind of business. Let's hope it's not a brothel. But F1 Gamer, a very famous name in PSGL, has come in at the last minute. So maybe a slight disadvantage to some of the other drivers, but I'm sure with his vast experience and many race victories in the top tier of PSGL F1, many consider him to be the greatest driver in PSGL F1 history not to win the top tier title in PSGL. And well, he would certainly like to sign off his PSG career with a Race of Champions win, and certainly he has the know-how to get the job done here. A warm welcome to those who have joined us in the chat. Let us know who your favourites are for the Race Champions. It's quite a stacked field. There's plenty of former F1 champions here in terms of PSGL, but will it be someone outside of F1 to get the job done today? One of the F2 or F3 drivers, perhaps. Leon, of course, a former Race of Champions winner a few seasons ago. So Gamer actually on the hard compound at the moment, so let's see what he can do as he crosses the line. We get a nice onboard shot from the McLaren, nice purple and white helmet. Over the line he goes, and it's going to be P11 on the hard compound. So quite a field spread at the moment. A few people getting their banker laps in, and some actually taking it very seriously right from the start of the race. So we'll move on to F2 in terms of just the stats. So Will Murdoch was the champion. He won 4 races last season, including back-to-back at Germany and Britain respectively. And you know, he had such a strong finish to the campaign, which no one really could live with. I mean, from Belgium all the way to Abu Dhabi, he finished on the podium every single time, finishing with 122 points, which is one of the highest amounts of points that anyone across the leagues came. Because don't forget, every single league in PSGL has the same calendar, so it was a 13-round calendar this season. So Will Murdoch, very impressive. He goes on an outlap, and well, his teammate for this particular evening, Wermet, he's currently in the pit lane. He didn't have a bad campaign himself. He kind of fell into a bit of a rut towards the end of the season. Just couldn't really get that consistency that Will Murdoch did, and in the end he just couldn't get the job done. We're going to go on board with VSR Blitz, who's one of the wild cards today. Whoa, look at that spectacular save from Blizzard just then. He took a lot of speed, maybe a bit more than he wanted, but he got that calmed down. Would have lost a bit of time from that, but that was absolutely spectacular save from Blizzard, and we've seen a few of those. Undisputably the best driver in PSGL from the F1 2018 era. Hasn't quite reached that level yet, but it's really impressive how he's adjusted to the wheel, and I think he'll be a real force next season in the F1 tier should he choose to carry on. And incidentally, the placements for the next season of PSGL 24 will be announced tomorrow, so check out the PSGL Twitter, give that a follow, and all of the information will be shared with us there, and it will be a live stream with Big C and Irin, who have 10 PSGL F1 championships between them, who will be announcing all the placements. And just to put some rumours to bed, no, I am not coming back to racing, ladies and gentlemen, but I will certainly give season 23 a great send-off, I hope, with this broadcast this evening. So as we look through Sparks, flying through Sector 2, the S-bends, quite a tricky section of corners, very easy to get corner cut in. It's strict corner cutting as usual, so expect to see a few penalties out there. So at the moment, Taze Leroy has retired from the session in P5. So let's move on to F3 then. So it's Samban Kid, he's out there at the moment. He's just practicing away as Will Murdoch goes fastest with 1:13.913. So giving the F1 duo in the Renault something to think about. Leon, 6 tenths off. 6/7 best time. So the top 5 covered by just under 7 tenths of a second. Aberdeen last season's, or the last Race of Champions rather, on F1 2018. He's currently in P4, and he's actually just improved to go above Leon. Sandman Kid carries on. So Sandman Kid, what a title battle it was in F3 this season. 4 points covering the top 3 at the end of the season, and they all feature here tonight. In fact, Sandman Kid, Leon, and Black Phoenix, but an incredible battle, which was settled at Abu Dhabi. Black Phoenix actually winning the final race, but not doing quite enough during the season to be in touch. Yeah, 119, 116, 115 for Sandman Kid, Leon, and Black Phoenix respectively, and they really dominated that championship compared to the rest. Although Jay Fletcher had a decent run in the middle of it before getting banned towards the end of the season. So that was unfortunate for him. So let's see what Lewis is out there on another run. But we will move on to F4. So F4, well, he's out of the session now, but takes Leroy. What an unbelievable achievement for him. 11 years old, the youngest PSGL championship winner in terms of a division. And, well, I mean, you look at his record in F4, and there are some pretty decent drivers at that level, F4. Well-respected level. Sparks goes fastest with 1:13.784. But Leroy won more races in a season than any other across PSGL. He won 7 races out of 13, which is frightening when you consider his age. Imagine how good he'll be in a few years' time. If he carries on that trajectory and that dedication, if he's given the time to do so, he could become potentially a real force of PSGL's top tier later on. So if you've got any questions for the commentator, please leave the hashtag AskCom and leave your questions below. But I will answer Woot's questions. How many finishes do I expect? Well, this is a track which does lend itself to a few incidents because of the nature of the low downforce setup you need. Otherwise, you're an absolute sitting duck on that 1,200 meter long straight from the final corner all the way down to turn 1. So you really need a low downforce setup here. So, you know, that may catch out a few drivers who take a little bit too much curb in the S-bends. But hopefully we get everyone finishing. That's what every commentator hopes before the start of the race, as Will Murdoch comes out. So just over 1.5 tenths covering the top 3 with just over 6.5 minutes of the session to go. I'm just going to see if there's anyone else. Let's feature the Racing Point onto the podium, who is on a flying lap at the moment. Very familiar name. I mean, some people joke that he never actually finished onto the podium, but he has proven at times that he can most certainly do that. Plenty of podiums and some wins over the years, and this is his final PSGL race as he enters the spectacular stadium section, which, although it doesn't lend itself much to racing in itself, it's certainly spectacular for the fans who pack I mean, the Mexican fans are so passionate as onto the podium pulls back into the garage. And I think that leads on very nicely, in fact, to mentioning the F5 drivers. And F5 had a very entertaining season, I have to say. I watched quite a lot of F5 because it does feature some of the drivers I did used to run with a lot back then. As Simpson rounds the final corner, what's it going to be for the F5 champion? It's going to be, well, an invalidation apparently, a 121. That's nowhere near enough. But here we go. Going on to another lap here, but I think we'll switch. But yeah, Tipson, he had a pretty solid campaign, didn't he? Winning the championship by 32 points. He had 4 victories during that season. He finished particularly strongly, 4 podiums in a row, including 2 wins to end the campaign. And that's what won him the championship, really. No one could get him close to his consistency towards the end of the season. But he and onto the podium, really doing well. And speaking of F5, well, Warren Haig was selected as one of the wild cards by the directors, and he certainly at times shone. Slightly embarrassing crash at Singapore, but I won't mention that again. But he had 4 podiums during the season, and certainly at times will consider himself unlucky that he did not win some races. As VSR Blizzard then lays down a marker at 1:13.545 for the former 2-time champion, and back in his favoured Toro Rosso car, which got him so much success back in the F1 2018 era. And is that an omen for this Race of Champions, looking to win the Race of Champions for the 2nd time? And 2 other drivers, Leon and Abiodun, also trying to do the same out of those currently on the grid. But now we will move on to F6. F6, well, some people say, perhaps unfairly sometimes, it's the Mario Kart League of PSGL, given some of the carnage we see there, but I think there's some pretty good drivers there. And, well, the F6 championship was actually won by JRD Bot, but he's not here this evening, so the F6 is only represented by Oysen, who had a pretty decent campaign, 3 victories, back-to-back at Belgium and Britain before winning the final race at Abu Dhabi. But such was the dominance of Boss, he had actually won the championship even before getting to Abu Dhabi, and he didn't even race there. So that's pretty impressive when you think about it. And then finally we'll mention briefly, before we get to the final session, because I want to cover some action, F7. A league I've raced in, the first campaign. The final F7 campaign this season, of course. All won by Dutchmen, a very quirky stat of Psgl. All 3 of the F7 championships won by Dutchmen, they being Jaruru, Blue Jean, and this season Boomer, who came very close to winning it the previous season, but finally got what he deserved this season. As we watch AMS, one of the most experienced drivers on the grid here today, going through his paces and warming up the tyres. Just over 3 minutes session to go. So Boomer winning 2 races during this season. Try and catch not here today. So the other representative from F7 is Ponage Town, who despite going on and on about changing his name with the PlayStation update allowing him to do so, hasn't changed his name still. So I guess he still loves the very childish Ponage Town name. But there was nothing childish about some of his performances on track this season. He got a victory at the US Grand Prix. So he's one of the solid names. Top 3 finish, his highest finish in F7 to date, finishing above the previous champion Blue Jean. That's no mean feat for the F7 level. And then finally FP Formula Performance. That is AMS and Tom AJ were going to be the representatives. So AMS, the technically sole current FP representative in terms of those selected for the Racer Champions. Although of course Ash Best, a former FP champion himself, and incidentally Ash Best, well, featured in one of the most dramatic F1 title battles in Psgl history, where he won the championship over Cliffy, equal on points but having more wins. The closest battle in Psgl F1 history. But now let's get to the business at hand, because we're about to enter the business end of qualifying. Just over 1.5 minutes of the session to go. Sparks on his out lap, so let's try and catch someone who's actually on a lap. It looks like AMS is on a lap, and he is on the soft compound at the moment. And a big snap of oversteer, and that may have ruined his lap, so I think we'll switch to someone else immediately. Boomer carrying on in the Alfa Romeo, currently P13. The likes of Blizzard, Sparks, Murdoch, Lewis look like at the moment they're going to be the 4 competing for pole position. Unless Ash Best has something to say about it, because he hasn't set a representative time yet. Sophie has retired from the session. Leroy has earlier on. May have had a crash somewhere. As Boomer really deep into the final part of the lap, and that has ruined his lap, and he comes back in. So that's going to be for him. So let's focus our attention then on the battle for pole. So we got Blizzard on an out lap. It is actually possible to get one of those next lap invalidations if you cut a little bit too much. Through the stable section, if you do that, you will get one, so they've got to be careful. And is that Will Murdoch right behind Blizzard? No, that is not Will Murdoch. That's actually Wume, who's actually following Blizzard and trying to get some space. And let's have a look at Lewis. Lewis is coming through the final corner, so I think he may be following Blizzard onto... No, it's actually... Lewis is going to be out there first. So Lewis on the main straight, powering down towards turn 1. There aren't really any corner names here. So heading down to turn 1. It's going to be heading all the way down to 3rd gear. And then through the first chicane. Very Monza-like sector 1. Full throttle. Only 45% of this lap actually taking that full throttle. But the majority of that being in sector 1. Then it's quite a technical section. And he's up by a 10th in sector 1. So currently P4, the F1 champion, he's got to make about 4 tenths to get ahead of Blizzard's at a fantastic time at the moment. Mid-13s. So it's a few tenths down as AMS, Boomer and Gamer finished their sessions, I believe, in the pit lane. So carrying on. It's got a bit of traffic up ahead. That's a Mercedes. I think that might be, looks like, could be Sambam Kid. See what tyres he's got. Yeah, that is Sambam Kid because he's on the medium tyres. Will he get in the way of Lewis? Oh, I think he's going to a little bit. And if he's on a flying lap, though, there's nothing wrong with that. That's going to compromise Lewis's exit out to the final corner a little bit, and he's going to almost have to overtake him. And what's it going to be for Lewis? Lewis will cross the line. It's only P2. I wonder if that cost him somewhat. Sparks has retired from the session. Murdoch carries on. Blizzard has not improved, so that means Murdoch looks like he's the only driver who can deny. Oh, and it's a huge snap of oversteer, and he is gone. So Murdoch will not improve. So Wormay. Did Wormay cross? No, Wormay has not improved, so that is it. I think for most of Ponage Town, is he still on that? Yeah, Ponage Town No, he's definitely not going through. So it is VSR, Blizzard and Lewis, two very keen rivals from F1 over the years in PSGL, on the front row with Sparks just behind. And Will Murdoch, very impressive P4, though he'll be kicking himself for that mistake, because I think he was up on his sector times. Leon in P5, very impressive, and the former ROC, or current ROC holder in P7, so pretty good. So let's have a quick look then for your grid. But yeah, unfortunate for Will Murdoch, he was definitely pushing hard. I think he could have been in the top 3. Here we go then. VSR Blizzard takes pole position by less than a tenth of a second from Lewis. Sparks not far behind in P3. Murdoch on row 2 as well. Leon in P5, Weme in P6, Abiodun, Black Phoenix row 4, AMS and Leroy in row 5. Impressive from the F4 driver. And then onto the podium, Ponish Town, Warren Haig, Samban Kid, Tipson, Boomer, Gamer, Oyson, Ash Bess and F1 Sophie making up the rest of the grid. But the main headlines are Blizzard versus Lewis at turn 1. This is going to be pretty spectacular, ladies and gentlemen. And because it's a 100% race, I think I'm going to just give my voice a little rest and a quick drink. So enjoy the sound of the Ferrari F2004 as we await the formation lap here at the Autódromo. And here we are then back in Mexico for the 71 lap Mexican Grand Prix Race of Champions as Blizzard leads away the formation lap for what should be a race which is a real step into the unknown for some of these drivers, particularly those in the lower tiers who may not be used to racing 100% distance races. So I know a few of these drivers like to do their career mode 100%, so that may give them a small advantage. At least they'll be used to the physicality of racing 100% race, particularly on the wheel. Some of these drivers are. Blizzard is on the wheel, I believe. Lewis is on pad, I believe. So let's then have a look at the tyre choices outside the top 10. Oh, and it's quite a mixture, actually. So, outside the top 10, let's have a look at them. So, onto the podium then has got the medium compound. Ponish Town has gone for the very aggressive softs to start the race. So, he'll be looking to gain some places at the start in P12. P13, Warren Haig, he's gone for the hard compound. So, he's going for the Daniel Ricciardo strategy of going as deep into the race as possible. So he will have nice, fresh, faster tyres at the end of the race. Samban Kid, P14, mediums, and then Tipson is a P415, and he has got the mediums as well, followed by Boomer. And Gamer, well, he probably would have hoped for a little bit better qualifying-wise. He's quite down the order. But I think big coming in the last minute. But he's someone who does like to ease his way into races, but he's on the mediums. Finally, Oyson and Ash Best in the Williams. These are not performance Williams, so that's no excuse for them being towards the back of the grid. But they're both from the soft tyres. And then finally, at the back of the grid is F1 Sophie. So the grid begins to build up as they warm up their tyres with some last-minute braking. Well, this is going to be pretty dramatic stuff here, it has to say. It has to be said. So we prepare for the start. A few people seem to have collided on the formation lap. As we get a view of the start-finish straight. It's quite a far view, actually. That's better. A little bit closer to the action, thank you. And, well, it is a 890-metre dash from the start-finish line to turn 1. We're about to get underway here as we go on board with Blizzard on the start-finish line. The grid is where the green flag is being waved. Will we get the 5 red lights? Yes, we will. It is Blizzard versus Lewis on the front row, but watch out for row 2 because they'll get the very strong toe. And we are underlay, away in Mexico, and Lewis has not left the grid. What has happened to Lewis? Lewis did not get underway as well. Oh my goodness, it's a huge crash behind them. Blizzard under pressure from Sparks. What on earth has happened at the back of the grid? Did his controller die or something like that? But either way, Blizzard leads from Sparks with Murdoch just behind. But there was a fair amount of damage at the back there. Surely there will be some pit stops for wing damage, but that's promoted quite a few drivers. There's going to be quite a lot of changes at the back. But what happened to Lewis? Did he get a lag on the start? Did he not get the lights the same as once? Because I just can't see what would have happened otherwise. But that was absolutely bizarre. But Sparks chasing Blizzard then in P2. Will Murdoch up to 3rd, Leon up to 4th. So the former Racer Champion winners in 4th and 5th at the moment, so they're going strong. Might have a quick look what's going down the order. Yeah, there's a lot of damage down there, and well, what can you say? Lewis has damage as well, I believe. Maybe not, but yeah, that's really something really strange has happened there. I can't believe Lewis would have just not started. He must have. And Leroy's retired from the session. What on earth has happened to Leroy? Leroy's crashed in Sector 3. A bizarre place to crash. So lack of experience maybe costing there, but straight back to the front. Sparks trying to chase. As Wormay out as well. So we've already had 2 casualties on the first lap. And Lewis will pit. A gaggle of cars are going to be in the pit lane. Wing changes galore. 5 drivers in the pit lane. Samban Kid is in as well. He must have had some contact somewhere, but we'll go straight back to the front as they all pit. Here comes Sparks, putting pressure on Blizzard. These two have pretty equal pace comparatively in F1 most of the start. But there's a long way to go here. We're on lap 2 of 71, but that was a bizarre incident. If anyone can replay the start and see what happened, it was a very bizarre. I've never seen that happen before. At least I think the last time I saw that was back on F1 2016, but they had that glitch where the start lights would. I can only assume it was. That's what happened. That Lewis got some sort of situation where he was out of sync with the start lights, and they were still counting down when everyone else started off. That's the only reason I would have seen that happen. Unless something happened on his control, because he didn't ghost, because that's always an indication of someone, ghosting when their controller disconnects, because you do ghost automatically when that happens, when you pause the game. It's an automatic pause when your controller shuts down. But either way, we'll have to focus now. We're on lap 3. Race control has activated DRS, but we're going to just quickly have a look at Tipson, because Tipson is closing in on his teammate. Is he going to go for a move into turn 1? He's on the medium compound. Oh, he had half a look, but he decided better of it. And I do say teammate, but just for the evening. Sparks keeping a nice watching brief. So the top 4 covered by just over 2 seconds. So pretty decent gaps. Will Murdoch not far behind, although he's nearly dropped out of DRS range of Sparks. So he's going to have to just bide his time. Leon, very impressive start from Leon, bidding to become the first driver, at least prior to F1 2015. So I don't think there was Racer Champions prior to that, or at least records of them, at least according to my good friend Connor, who provided all the information, has won it twice. AMS and Blizzard trying to go for that particular honour as well. So the top 2 just starting to break away slightly from the rest as we get the telemetry on. Decent battery levels for both at the moment. Battery levels will be very key, as it always is in F1 2019 race. But, well, as you can see, there's now kind of definitely a bit of a field split now. Lewis is leading the second pack of those affected by that incident at the start of the race, with Lewis ahead of Black Phoenix, Ashbest, Boomer. Here comes Sparks then. First opportunity with DRS on this main straight, this gigantic 1,200 meter long straight at Mexico, which is so characteristic. And look at that, Leon putting Will Murdoch under pressure. Now, just so you know, if you suddenly hear some bangs in the background, there may be a firework display going on very close to my house. So if you suddenly hear all these bangs, don't worry, I'm not in a Syrian war zone. There's just a firework display going on, which is quite characteristic in some years. Lewis underlies the kind of pace he'd have if he did not have the incident, as he sets the fast lap of the race. And here we go. Ponishtown retires from the session, the 3rd retirement. And apart from Wime, who got caught, it's kind of telling that some of the lower tier drivers are already, and Oh yeah, look at that. There, ponies down, losing it at the S's. And I did mention it, these low downforce can catch out some of the less experienced drivers. And Sparks goes really deep. Really deep. He still stays within a second because the characteristic of this stadium section is that you can do something like that, but yet get someone, because it's the slowest corner on the track, turn 15. But that's going to put him under a lot of pressure as Murdoch's now back within DRS range. So there may be an attack going on. Top 4 beginning to break away from Abiodun in P5. Is there anything else? Oysen has now split the 2 racing points, so he'll be looking to move up to P7 soon. But no actual movement at the moment. So let's have a look at Oysen, because Oysen is looking to make a move on the racing point of the F5 champion. F6 runner-up versus F5 champion. And look at that behind. F1 Sophie coming back through the field as they side-by-side between the McLaren of Gamer and onto the podium, defending superbly. But he's lost the place to Sophie. Sophie up to P9 from P20. So a pretty decent start from F1 Sophie. And Oysen has gained 11 places as well. But here comes Gamer down the inside of onto the podium and up to P10. No points awarded for today, but that would be a points playing position if we were in a normal race. So plenty of action so far here, and I think the midfield in particular will be pretty spectacular. But let's go back to the front, on board with IORT Leon, who stepped down from his F1 commentary duties this season. So really grateful for his efforts this season and did a pretty good job in my opinion. Be interested to see who replaces him next season. I'm sure there'll be an announcement about that soon. A lot of headhunting going on at the moment, but here comes Sparks. Sparks 8 tenths now, just trying to stay in touch in this battle for the lead, but this may be a holding pattern until we get our first pit stops. Is there anything going on behind? I think Sophie is on the move again, the only female participant, but a very experienced driver herself. Here comes Sophie then. Nothing robotic about her driving at the moment, but Sophie, oh no, not quite close enough to make a move. We'll go straight back to Sparks because I think Blizzard's made a mistake somewhere, because Sparks is right behind Blizzard now. We go back to Sophie just briefly. Will there be a move? Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a move. Here comes Sophie, a move on Tibson, demoting the F5 champion. And starting on those soft tyres has proven to be really valuable for Sophie so far. 3 retirements then from the 20 who started, and we're on lap 6. Your race order is Blizzard, Sparks, Murdoch, Leon, Abiodun, AMS, Oysen, Sophie, Tibson and Gamer. Although I still like to call him Gamer the best. And will he be the best in terms of this race of champions by the end? That will be another thing. And I think Tibson is he's just struggling a little bit for pace. Had a pretty good grid slot and gained a lot of positions after that carnage at the start. 6 in fact, but he's now beginning to fall into the grips of some of the faster drivers. 12 places gained for Sophie, 11 gained for Oysen. Absolutely incredible. But now Sparks is about as close to Blizzard as he has been so far this race, as Lewis picks up a time penalty. And that's 3 seconds, and I do believe Boomer had a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flag, so I'll make a note of that as well. But yeah, Blizzard had pretty good straight line speed, and Sparks getting a little bit out of shape out of the chicane. But look at that, Blizzard having to defend. But will Murdoch think about a move behind? No, not for the time being. So the top 3 as you were. Look at that, Sparks just trying to force the more experienced driver behind him into a mistake. Front, I should say. So it's Toro Rosso, Renault, Red Bull, Mercedes, top 4. Ponish leaves the session. Tibson and Gamer seem to be having a battle again, so I may have a quick look at that. And yeah, they are side by side through the start of sector 2. Gamer's going to maintain the position. Tibson giving it as good as he's got against an F1 race winner. Oh, I could almost feel the back end going there on that onboard. So they're obviously running very low downforce setups, and you have to here, because if you don't, you're an absolute sitting duck on that main straight. And that's what this lap is all about, building up for turn 17, getting as good an exit as possible, and then being able to defend or gain a position. So we'll go straight back to the battle for the lead. The top 4, Abiodun 1.9 seconds now behind the top 4. 6.4 second gap to AMS, who's kind of in no man's land at the moment. The Alexander Albon position, or Gasly, if you will, position at the moment, with Oysen in P7, Sophie in P8, Gamer and Tibson keeping her honest. So I think there'll be a nice freeway scrap between those two very shortly. Look at Tibbs and actually, no, it's about half a second behind, so I don't think there's going to be any action between them right this second. So let's have a look at Will Murdoch then. So in terms of the tyres so far, 7 laps done on these softs, 8 laps, so I don't think they'll be pitting anytime soon. There'll be at least another 5 or 6 laps before they even think about pitting. But they'll be all aiming to do the one stop if they can. The hards will go a long time. That's why we need to keep an eye on Warren Hay. He'll be a real indicator how long those hard tyres go, because he started on them. Lewis is beginning to catch Warren Hay, although he'll have to pit before Hay has to, I would hazard a guess. And I can hear the fireworks going off, so it's slightly distracting for me because it's literally blinding light in through the window. But yeah, it's kind of a stalemate at the moment. Everyone's seemingly got very similar setups. Sparks is closing in on Blizzard, but not quite in that kill zone. He's got to try and force Blizzard into a mistake, maybe outbrake himself at this chicane, and then try and overtake him into the second part of these 2 DRS zones we have here. As Best picks up a time penalty, which unfortunately has been a weakness of him in recent PSGL seasons. So it looks like Sophie has just been overtaken by Gamer up to P8. I'm trying not to break away from the leaders, because you just know if I stay away from the leaders too much, something dramatic will happen. Let's see if Sophie can come back at Gamer just for a few brief moments. It's quite a gap now. Sparks picks up a time penalty, so that's going to be, that could be key. Penalties could be so important in the longevity of this race, and Blizzard is of course someone who is known for picking up penalties. So Leon was Lewis, I should say, was the heavy favourite to win this, but him having his problems at the start, it has blown this race wide open. Because Blizzard, Sparks, Murdoch and Leon, at the moment at least, have the pace, although it looks like Leon is beginning to just edge back from the top 3 just a little bit as Samban Kid picks up the time penalty. They're beginning to rack up a little bit. 10 laps of 71 so far, just past 8 o'clock in the UK for you and international viewers watching this. So here we go. Will Murdoch trying to put it onto the podium. Will be going onto the steward's room with that time penalty as he picks up 3 seconds. Anything happening behind? Looks like Tibbs trying to come back at Sophie, whose soft tyres will be starting to go off just a little bit. Any of the leaders think about a pit stop just yet? Well, let's carry on with this battle for a few more moments. Tibbs was overtaken by Sophie not too long ago. So Gamer on the medium compound. He's already got out of DRS range of Sophie. So from a strategic point of view, Gamer's sitting quite pretty at the moment. He's not too far behind the leaders. So he could be a factor later on if he can stretch out a one stop starting on the medium. So that is the advantage of starting outside the top 10. That is what Sergio Perez did yesterday to get his brilliant P7. And now Sparks, you can just get the sense he's now a second behind Blizzard. So Sparks not looking after his tyres quite as well as Blizzard has so far. He's made some mistakes somewhere. And now we may get some overtaking action, because Will Murdoch will close the gap on Sparks, who is now out of DRS range of Blizzard, although they will get a fair amount of slipstream from the Toro Rosso ahead. So Will Murdoch has half a look. No, doesn't go for the move in the end. Oh, Blizzard picks up a time penalty. There you go. I mentioned that he is known for getting penalties from time to time. Let's have a look at Tibbs though, because Tibbs is closing in on the Haas of F1 Sophie. Tibbs was overtaken by her not too long ago, but with the tyres wearing off for those softs, Tibbs, the F5 champion, moves back up to P9 with a very solid move into turn 1 and covers off any chance of Sophie coming back. So straight back to the action, the top 4. Leon gamely holding on in this top 4 struggle. Sparks actually back within the DRS range, at least momentarily. So your race order at the moment on lap 11: Blizzard, Sparks, Will Murdoch, Leon, Abiodun, AMS, Oysen, Gamer, Tibbs, and F1 Sophie, who will be trying to regain that P9. Anyone thinking about a pit stop? Yeah, as they go round to start the 12th lap here. Nope, not for the time being. It's a long way to go here, ladies and gentlemen, but it's been pretty interesting so far. If these 4 stay this close throughout the race, we could have a spectacular end of the race later on. So this may be a little bit of a waiting game. But Oysen has actually caught the back of AMS. AMS struggling for tyre wear seemingly, because here comes Oysen. the F6 runner-up, trying to get past AMS, a former FP champion. Will he be able to get past? Keep on board with this. Will he go for a lunge to the inside? Oh, I think he was half thinking about it. Looks like Sophie is going to try and go back in front of Tibson. It's a nice little battle between the wild card and the F5 champion. Sophie trying to go around this. Oh, but there's not enough room. Really good on the brakes from Tibson. He picks up a time penalty though for good measure. So that is unfortunate for him. The penalty's certainly beginning to rack up. I'm going to lose track of the penalties in the end. 1.5 second gap between the top two now. So Blizzard just beginning to edge slightly away from Sparks Murdoch. So Murdoch, well, he may have to think about making a move on Sparks soon just to get ahead of him. But I think the next on-track action, apart from this battle for P2, maybe between Oysen and AMS, because it looks like to me Oysen has a lot more pace. And would he even think about a move into the final sector? Sector 3, there's yellow flags. Has someone gone off? Doesn't look like someone has. Oysen carrying on the fight, but let's quickly have a look at Murdoch, because Murdoch is right behind Sparks in the battle for P2. Doesn't get the move done as Abiodun pits from P5. Here comes Oysen then, trying to get ahead of AMS. A little bit of lag from AMS, but AMS has been demoted to P6. Now Sparks and Will Murdoch fighting for position here at the end of Sector 1 and into Sector 2. Murdoch gets the move done. Sparks demoted to P3, but with Abiodun pitting, I think we're going to see a flurry of activity in the pit lane shortly from the leaders, those who started in the top 10 on the soft tyre. They have to use another. Abiodun immediately getting a time penalty after switching to the medium compound. So it looks like Abiodun's going for a two-stop strategy, and I think we'll see a fair few drivers doing that, trying to do something a little bit different. But I think we're going to see a few drivers in there. Blizzard then, will he, with the gap he's got, will he think about stretching out this stint just a little bit? Oysen 14 seconds behind the top 4, so the pace of the top 4 has been absolutely fantastic so far. Blizzard chooses not to pit, he's going to carry on. So let's see what Sparks can do. Can Sparks come back immediately? Will Murdoch, and I think he will. He seems to have quite a bit of straight line speed. Here comes Sparks. And I don't think Will Murdoch's going to have much to defend. He's going to have to try and cover off the inside and try and go late on the brakes against Sparks. He's going to late on the brakes, but no. Sparks with a comfortable DRS overtake. Back up to P2 he goes. AMS into the pit lane for McLaren. And what's he going to do? Is this going to be a hard compound tyre choice? No, it's medium. So a two-stop for AMS as well. AMS back out on track. In nice clean air actually, so he can put in some good laps here. AMS comes out in P12 and Warren Haig in P13. Sure, starting in the hards is really working for Haig because he's behind some of the guys who have pitted already. So I don't know, might get him some joy in a fight for the top 10. But Blizzard in control of this race at the moment, especially given the time penalties. But Will Murdoch has no time penalties just yet, so he is just within winning this race at the moment. As Blizzard rounds the stadium section for the 14th time here. The Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. Will Blizzard pit? No, he will carry on. And I think the battle between Murdoch and Sparks will continue. And this is all helping Blizzard establish a gap. Here comes Murdoch then, once again. Leon, I think he's playing a smart game right now, just biding his time, letting the guys ahead of him destroy their tyres. His race pace has been excellent for Leon so far. Here comes Will Murdoch then. It's going to be a simple DRS overtake, and he gets the move done. Up into P2 once again. 2.5 seconds back. So at the moment, if the race finished like this with these gaps, and Leon, oh, Blizzard picks up another time penalty. That's 6 seconds he's got now. So at the moment, Murdoch is in the box seat to win this Race of Champions, and it's really early on, but Blizzard, he's got to cut these mistakes out as Black Phoenix picks up a time penalty. But yeah, you can't afford to make mistakes like this. Abiodun trying to make a move on Sophie, who's done 14 laps on the soft tyres against very fresh mediums, and this is surely going to be pretty simple. But Sophie not going to be phased by any of the drivers she's up against. She's going to make this at least a little bit difficult for Abiodun, but Abiodun just powers past with that Honda power. Equal cars, of course, but Honda-powered Toro Rosso. Abiodun up to P8. Now I wonder if he's getting any sort of undercut on some of the cars ahead, especially if they've been fighting a lot, as Murdoch gets a little bit raggedy out of turn 14. And will any of these drivers pit? Will Murdoch think, well, maybe I can get an undercut on Blizzard if I pit early? And no, they carry on. Oh, and that was not a good exit out of the much reduced Autódromo, which as Nigel Mansell famously overtook there in 1990 on Gerhard Berger for P2, although much different corner this day. But here comes Sparks on the main straight. He's going to head straight back past Will Murdoch with ease. But at the moment, Will Murdoch, no penalties for him, so he is in position to take what in some respects would be a shock victory in the Race of Champions. But here comes Lewis. These onto the podium versus Lewis. This is not a battle we probably expected to see when this race started, but in case you missed it, well, Lewis got an absolutely shocking start, perhaps the most shocking start I've ever seen in his Psgl career. It would be interesting to see what the heck happened to him, but he moves up into the top 10. He's recovering from time. He has pitted already, so he's done as many laps as those who haven't pitted on the soft, so he'll be pitting again around the time they will be, I imagine. But let's have a look at Leon. Leon in P4 hasn't really done much. He's just sort of gained places at the start after all that carnage, and he's just kind of sat behind the top 3. Now Blizzard's actually lost half a second on this lap, so what's going on with Blizzard? I think Blizzard's just trying to, he carries on, so he's lost a lot of time. Maybe he's saving battery, could be a reason. And yeah, here comes Murdoch then. Murdoch pits, so Murdoch's thinking, okay, I'm going to go in, Mr. Horner, give me some fresh rubber, I'm going to undercut these people. But will Abiodun get an undercut? He's in the stadium section. Now, the overspeed compared from the pit exit to the main straight is absolutely phenomenal. So if Murdoch doesn't get a move on, Abiodun could actually get past him. He's on the main straight now. Murdoch's just coming out. He may have some defending to do. The undercut has been pretty considerable, but no, Abiodun's probably about 2 seconds behind. But if Murdoch can get going, get a pretty good outlap, then I think he's got a chance of undercutting to get ahead of Sparks again, and maybe even threaten Blizzard for the lead of this race. So lap 17 then of this 100% Psgl Race of Champions. And I have to admit, I've never done a 100% race before. It's a very interesting and exciting challenge for me personally. And there's been plenty of stuff to watch so far as Black Phoenix overtakes Warren Haig for P13. Let's have a look then at the top 3. There's some gaps, but I do believe Sparks at the very least will have to respond to the Red Bull pitting. So I expect at the very least to see Sparks pitting. And Blizzard, I think, pitted. Yeah, I think Blizzard almost missed the entry completely. Leon pits as well. So now the big question is, how good has the outlap been for the Red Bull of Murdoch? He's in the stadium section now, catching Gamer ahead. Oysen, I think we'll be pitting too, and that's a car being lapped actually. That's Boomer? It's Boomer actually. Boomer's ghosting. Did he leave the session? I don't remember him doing that. But anyway, we'll go back to Will Murdoch. Can Will Murdoch undercut any of these drivers? I think he's going to. Don't think he's going to undercut Blizzard, but he's going to get ahead of Sparks. And look at Abiodun. I think Abiodun's actually going to may get ahead of. Is he going to try and get ahead of Leon? He's going to go for a dive to the inside. It's now or never, because Leon will have fresher tyres. Will Murdoch picks his first time penalty of the race and gets ahead of him, but straight to the front, because look at this, Gamer is ahead of some of these drivers. So is he gonna play the rear gunner Iron role, just blocking people for the sake of it? Because that was always entertaining when we saw it in Psgl F1 in his latter days there, before he dropped down to F4 for a little while. But Gamer's probably thinking, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to be a spoiler here and make this very interesting for the viewers. And if he does that, well, I can only thank the man very much for giving us some entertainment here. Sparks in P4. Leon, it's not really worked out that pit stop. He's lost quite a bit of time. Whether he breaks really early for the pit stop, we had to do some really robust defending against Abiodun. It's cost them both time, frankly. So Leon's out of the fight at the moment, although he hasn't got any time penalties, don't forget. I don't believe. All of the drivers here do, apart from Gamer, where he's out of sync. He's not in the battle for the lead. But while it has worked for Murdoch, it has put him within DRS range of Blizzard for the first time, because he's not been able. Sparks earlier on was. Here comes Blizzard then. So you will think Murdoch thinking, well, I've got to try and get past Gamer right now, and wasn't quite close enough to get past him. That's going to favour Blizzard. But everybody is two-stopping. That much is clear, because these mediums will not go to the end of the race. So there will be another stop. So it looks like they might be employing soft, medium, soft. I think that could be the strategy they're going for. As Abiodun continues to fight with a driver he's very familiar with, Leon. Two racer champion winners fighting each other. So Gamer's been overtaken. So the likes of Murdoch, they've got to get past Gamer quickly, because if they don't, Blizzard's going to get a good gap again. Abiodun not able to get past. So after the pit stops, at least for those guys, that's kind of the top five. So Lewis picks up a time penalty, just underlying the day he's having. Will Murdoch go for a move to the inside? No, he's being sensible. But he probably thinks, oh, I wish I'd been a bit closer to Blizzard. I could have followed him through. Gamer in the mediums. He'll be pitting fairly shortly. Probably 3 or 4 laps time. I think the medium runners will be in. As Blizzard sets the fast lap. 118.224. So here we go, surely Murdoch and Sparks, but this could be potentially free wide. Watch out for Sparks. We go on board with Sparks. Is he going to follow through? You think he'll have to? Or he wants to not hit the back of that Red Bull, and he does. So Gamer demoted to P4. He's not in this fight, of course, so I don't think he thought too much. Murdoch now 1.9 seconds behind Blizzard, but that half a lap behind Gamer has certainly thrown him out. But don't forget, Blizzard has 6 seconds of penalties. Murdoch has 3. Sparks has 3. So this race is finally in the balance, no doubt about it. And for anyone who didn't see the start, Lewis, for some reason, his car just didn't get off the line, and a lot of cars behind him hit him. So that's what's mixed up quite a bit of the field. I think Boomer has left the session because he's 48 seconds behind, and I don't believe for a second he's that slow, considering Ponies is out as well. So for the F7 driver, it's not been a particularly good day so far. Let's have a look at Ash Best and Lewis. Lewis just passing for P13. It has not worked out for Lewis at all today. So the main battle on track looks like it's going to be between Will Murdoch and Sparks for the time being. And in terms of Blizzard, he'll be thinking, well, you know what? Battle each other into oblivion. So Leon will be hoping just for a simple overtake on Gamer, and I think that will be the case. Here comes Leon back up to P4. Still in the hunt for this race of champions, because he has less penalties than the drivers ahead of him. Just stay in touch with these guys. He's still got a chance. Abiodun not able to get past Leon, so his undercut worked to a degree. It got him really close to the back of the top 4, but now he's in traffic again. Lewis with the fast lap of 118.122, which is actually faster than the real life lap record, and we're only on lap 21. Imagine how fast it could be towards the end of the race. So Blizzard, Murdoch, Sparks, Leon, same top 4 we saw earlier, and that's after the pit stop. So in terms of the pit stops at the moment, so we've got quite a few drivers on the alternate strategy who haven't stopped, the likes of Gamer, Tibson. I mean, Sophie's done 20 laps on those softs. That's really impressive. It's kind of cost her time-wise, but I think she's trying to make this a one-stop. But I think the time she's losing, to be honest, it's not really going to work for her. I think the 2-stop looks like it's going to be the winning strategy here today. And Sophie, you know, she likes to try different strategies, and that's exactly what she's doing right now. So Abiodun then attempting to make a move. Let's have a look at Sparks, actually, because Sparks is getting very close to Murdoch, and actually it is a simple overtake in the end. And in the background we see Abiodun getting the move done on Gamer. Up to P5 he goes. Lap 22 then here. Sophie finally pits from P9 onto the podium as well. So, I mean, Sophie's done as many laps on those tyres as onto podium managed on the medium. So it cost her time, but fair play for not getting a buncher going that deep into the race. And that should make it, well, she's gone on the medium. So in theory, if she can do that many laps on the soft, she might be able to stretch out a one-stop. But I don't think it's going to really gain her time. But we'll see. We'll see what she wants to do. I'm surprised she didn't go for the hard, so she's going to try a long strategy like that. So Will Murdoch and Sparks, we've seen them overtake each other several times in this race so far. And it looks like Lewis now has closed onto the back of Black Phoenix. He's got much fresher medium tyres, much more pace than the F3 driver. Who was not far off winning the F3 Championship. There was only 4 points between the top 3 in the F3 Championship this season, which was just a fantastic scrap. Sophie
on the mediums. Ash Best picks up another time penalty, so that is now 6 seconds for Ash Best. So that is no good for him, as Lewis goes for an aggressive move at turn 14 and gets the job done. So nice work from Lewis to move up to P10 as the battle for P2 rages on ahead. Just see if Black Phoenix will think about trying to come back. Don't think he's got the tyres to do it though. Although, having said that, he seems to have a fair amount of straight line speed. So here comes Black Phoenix. He's not going to give up this fight. And I don't think Lewis will have to go for a late move to... No, he's not. In fact, Black Phoenix has blasted past the Renault as if it was a real-life Ferrari. So fair play to Black Phoenix. He's not giving up this fight. It's only for P10 in this Race of Champions where there's only really one prize available today. But he's certainly given Lewis a nice little scrap here. Lewis is not even, he's going to wait for another lap, so he's now stuck behind the Ferrari probably for the rest of the lap. So I think we'll keep an eye on this battle for a few moments longer, just giving the low orders of the midfield a little bit of coverage here. So Lewis, a two-time F1 champion, up against the F3 third place driver, and Black Phoenix is saying, I don't care how many titles you've won, I'm not making this easy for you, sunshine. So Lewis, oh look how close, he's desperate to get ahead of this Ferrari and just say sayonara. Is he going to go for a lunge into the same section? Not this time. I think we're going to, just having a look again, but I think we're going to have a quick look at Sparks, because Sparks is now closing. No, he's close to Will Murdoch. There's a huge gap now. 3 second gap between Blizzard and Murdoch. So actually that's enough for Blizzard at the moment. Just. Straight back to Lewis because Lewis is trying to get ahead. Look at that, Lewis is lacking straight line speed, not able to close in on the Ferrari. The Ferrari has huge straight line speed. It's almost as if it's got a real Ferrari under its wheel. Here we go. So Lewis trying to get ahead of this Ferrari. It's been a nice little scrap on lap 24 here of this race championship. So Lewis is going to try and muscle his way around that side. Oh, he goes deep though. He maintains it. Still had at least 2 wheels on the track, so it was a perfectly legal maneuver. And Lewis gets the move done. And now he's just got to have a really good sector 2 to get out of Black, because we know if he's not out of DRS range, Black Phoenix is going to be slingshotting past that Renault once again. And well, one thing that seems to be clear to me is that this strategy of starting on the hards is not really working for Warren Hay, because he's just not really going anywhere. And now he's been overtaken by Sandbang Kid for P14 and onto the podium. He's just behind him. So we just saw Will Murdoch set the fastest lap of the race. He's now within 3 seconds. That's where he needs to be the Race of Champions winner here today. As onto the podium in his final PSGL race. Comes up against another wily old fox of PSGL of Warren Haig. 1 second gap between Murdoch and Sparks, and if Sparks, if anything, may fall into the clutches of Leon if he doesn't get his pace on a little bit. Let's have a quick look at, is he going? No, he's not going to close gap, so I think we'll go straight back onto the podium, so we may potentially get some 3-wide action here. Although more likely, given that poor exit the Haas got, could be onto the podium making a move on Haig. But we're about to find out. Here comes onto the podium. Can he get the move done? And not for the time being. So 17 drivers of those who started. We're at around 1/3 distance now for this particular race. So here we go then, onto the podium. Trying to get ahead. Warren Haig, who's got much more rubber down. 24 lap old hard tyres versus 3 lap old hard tyres. Good defending as ever for Warren Haig though, covering off the 2 F5 drivers, going into combat for P15. As Oysen picks up a time penalty, and Oysen's in a very solid P8 at the moment. Good effort from the F6 driver. As onto the podium, attempts to get ahead of his fellow F5 driver. It's a slightly better exit from Warren Haig out of that particular corner. Can he go for a move, maybe into the stadium section? No, he's not going to do that. I think it's sensible. Don't normally see overtakes. We did see Lewis pull a surprise move on Black Phoenix a few laps ago, but I think don't often see moves there, and Lewis has actually now powered away from Black Phoenix, who seems to have just run out of tyres, I think. And Haig is going to pull into the pits then for his first pit stop of the races. Onto the podium, overtakes him. So we'll go back to the fight for P2. So is that everyone pitting now? No. So Gamer and Tipson are still going quite deep into this race. And Gamer, I have to say, very impressive, because he is only 12 seconds off the lead and he has not made a pit stop yet. And he's on medium tyres. So he's on 25 laps on the medium tyres. That's more than Haig managed on the hard. So I would say Game has been the most impressive overall so far. So at the moment, as Black Phoenix picks up another time penalty. In the top three, Blizzard, Murdoch and Sparks. Sparks keeping Murdoch honest. Blizzard, he probably knows he can't afford to get any more time penalties, because if he does, he is going to be in deep trouble. So you have 9 seconds. He's got more time penalties than anyone else in the top 5. So he knows any more penalties, he's going to be really struggling. But it looks like they're actually coming up to lap. Yeah, Warren Haig. He just goes for a second. I think he's ghosting in and out. So I don't know if he's having a disconnect soon. Warren Haig is infamous sometimes for his transmission failures on the car. No, that's not going to happen. So Sparks then. This battle between Will Murdoch and Sparks has been ding-dong all the way through this race so far. As Boomer picks up a 3-7. So Boomer is still here then. Just doesn't seem to have the pace at the moment. Did get caught up in that incident at the start of the race. So yeah, the glitch start from Lewis. Yeah, it's such a shame, because I think Lewis would have been up here fighting. You know, sometimes the game just doesn't work for you. And that's what's happened here. But you know, given his speed, I'm sure Lewis will be in another race of champions and have an opportunity to put that wrong right down the line. But that's a discussion for another day, because this is the final action of season 23, the Psgl Race of Champions. And it is lap 28 of 71 here at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. Oogie Seam, nice comment in the chat there saying that with the amount of pens on show, he could have won it. Well, maybe you're right, Oogie. You would never want to get too many penalties in my experience. And now they're coming up to lap. Warren Haig. Looks like Warren Haig may have disconnected actually. Was that Sophie? No, it's not Sophie. So I think Warren Haig may have disconnected. Oh no, of course. No, silly me. I've completely forgotten actually. Yes, of course, there's that new feature in the game now, a 5-second penalty ignoring a blue flag. I completely forgot that they've put that feature in, that when you come up to a lapped car in an online race, you can set it so that they ghost. Warren Haig probably forgot about that and got a 5-second penalty. So not good news for Haig, although I don't think in his position it's really going to affect him too much. I think he's kind of here just to enjoy a leisurely drive around Mexico City. I don't think that's affected Blizzard too much. I think he lost a 10th maybe. But, you know, Lewis is still there. And he is within range. I don't believe he has any time penalties. So Lewis is just kind of keeping a watching brief. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they adjust to the strategy as it goes on. Sparks still chasing down Murdoch lap after lap. But these two are probably going to be putting more pressure on their tyres. And I think that's what Leon's doing. Leon's just kind of keep watching brief, but I think for the time being he should be thinking about saving some battery. He's only got 9% battery at the moment. That is nowhere near enough if he's going to be launching attacks later on in this race. But let's have a look at Black Phoenix, because Black Phoenix has got fresh soft tyres, so he's on a 2-stop. And his first target in his sights will be the racing point onto the podium. As they head through the stadium section, the crowd loving every second here. Sparks picks up a time penalty. 6 seconds now for Sparks. That may take him off the podium at the end of the race, but enough of that, because Black Phoenix is looking to make a move for P14, the F3 driver up against the F5 runner-up. And Black Phoenix will swoop past the racing point with ease to move up to P14. Onto the podium, well, with those hard tyres, he's not really got anything to fight with the traction, and add insult to injury, another time penalty onto the podium. Stewards are going to be extremely busy today here by the looks of it, but this is the nature of this track. It's so easy to pick up time penalties because you're braking at such speed into that first chicane, and then you're just desperately trying to get a good line, because if you get a poor exit out of that chicane, you can be so vulnerable into the end of sector 1 at turn 4. As Sparks runs rather wide, a little bit raggedy at the moment as Warren Haig continues to be lapped. That underlines starting on the hard, so it's not worked out for him. But here we go then, AMS versus Lewis for P9. Now this is a battle we have seen a few times in F1 in the past. I think Lewis has got fresher tyres, and I think he's going to just go around the outside of AMS and get the move done. Oh, nearly a bit of contact between the two, but no, that was Pretty stand overtake as Blizzard picks up another time penalty. That is 9 seconds now. 9 seconds for Psgl Blizzard, and Warren Hay picks up another time penalty for ignoring blue flags. I'm not sure if this new feature is glitched because Warren Hay, he's a pretty experienced driver. He knows all of us as Black Phoenix obliterates the fastest lap at 1:17.512. So fair play to Black Phoenix. That's a storming lap from him. I think that will get smashed again though when these guys pit for, I suspect, softs later on. But now the pendulum swings again. Blizzard had that little bit of cushion. He had a 3-second gap because Murdoch and Sparks had 3 seconds as well. That put him in the box seat to win. But now he's now lost that, so he is now in a position where he's not going to win. He's lost 6 seconds. So if you look at the gap to leader at the moment, Blizzard will be finishing 4th in this particular race. And Gamer continues on his way. Gamer is let's see, Gamer's gap's now 15, just nearly 16 seconds to the leader, but he only has to make one more stop. But what is he going to pit for? That's going to be the interesting question. We'll see what he pits for later on, but let's see if we can see some action in terms of the battles inside the top 10. Looks like Oysen and Tibson having a nice little scrap for P7. Black Phoenix, I think, will be rapidly catching Sophie, so we'll keep an eye on that battle for P11. But Oysen, Tibson and Oysen, I think if they finish in these positions, I think they'll be absolutely delighted, given the standard of the competition they're up against. And here comes Oysen thinking about a move, maybe into turn 7. Don't usually see that, but then we go through the sweeping section of 8, 9, 10 and 11, quick succession. Oh, Sparks is out of the race! Sparks is out of the race! What happened to Sparks? I don't know what happened to Sparks at all, but Sparks has had an off. We'll keep an eye on Tibson, but Sparks is out of the race. One of the F1 drivers. Was it out of the final corner? Or has he retired his car or something like that? Well, yellow flags. Has he crashed to where Bottas did? No idea what happened to him. But he was fighting Murdoch, so that promotes Leon. Lewis is out of the race. Lewis is out of the race as well. Have both Renaults just retired in the pits? I'm just trying to look down the pit lane. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, both Renaults have decided to call it a day for some reason. So Lewis, well, unlucky basically, but a very unlucky situation. But yeah, both Renaults out in quick succession, so that will promote Ash, Bess and Sophie into the top 10. But speaking of the top 10, Black Phoenix is rapidly catching F1 Sophie. Seems to be a running joke now in the chat saying what happened to Lewis. I think everyone knows now. Yeah, someone may have to tell me how to say Oysen properly, because I have no idea. So Oysen, sounds like a condiment. Here comes Black Phoenix. Black Phoenix then closing the gap then on F1 Sophie. He may not have a prayer of defendingness, although her mediums are only 10 laps old, but these fresh softs very powerful at this stage of the race. So, 2 of the F1 drivers out of the race as Ash Best picks up, well, another time penalty. He's got as many as Blizzard now. I've honestly lost track of the penalties now, except for a few drivers. But here we go then. Sophie taking a wide line, but that's not the line you really want to take out that corner. Sandbank here picks up a time penalty. These time penalties are really racking up now. Yellows in Sector 1 and Sector 2. I think Warren Hay may have had an off. That's Black Phoenix then. Moves into the top 10 with a fairly standard DRS overtake. So what happened to Warren Hay? Did Warren Hay have an off somewhere? Or it's just maybe he was slowing down to get lapped. I think that may have been the reason. So he's been lapped by everyone up to P8, P7 now. So yeah, a race to forget for Warren Hay at this stage. Sophie in P11. So there's some rather large gaps at the moment forming, and that is something that can happen when you have sort of the retirements you have in this particular section. So we need to talk about some history as Leon picks up his first time penalty of the race. Oh, that is not what he wants at this stage of the race. He really doesn't want time penalties at this stage of the race because he is certainly in with a shout of winning this particular race. He now has as many time penalties as Will Murdoch, which is 3 seconds. So Will Murdoch, the F2 champion, closing in on a Race of Champions fixture, because at the moment he has 3 seconds time penalties. Blizzard has 9. And you get the sense Blizzard is not done with feeling the wrath of the steward's office. Because because it is so much harder, of course, on the wheel to avoid these time penalties. And now lapping Sandbank Kid, so they have lapped up to P13 for the time being. So no real battles happening at the moment, but I think once we get the pit stops we will have some more. Looks like the majority of the field is going for 2-stop strategy here. Gamer certainly going for the 1-stop, I would say. 33 laps he's done. A magnificent effort from Gamer the Best. As Warren Haig retires from the session. Oh dear. And that is the end of Warren Haig's miserable evening, where he tried something different but just didn't have the pace. But he will be back in action in F5 next season, I'm sure, to try and win the championship once again. So that's our 6th retirement of this particular event, leaving us with 15 drivers. But hopefully in the second half of the race we will get some battles, and I think we will when the strategies play each other out. Half distance then of this Race of Champions, as with Murdoch in the box seat. Leon 3.7 seconds behind him. Real battles going on at the moment. So as Samakid runs miles wide, this ghosting system, I'm not really sure about it. It seems to be working that well, because I think the unfortunate thing about this ghosting system is that you don't have that sort of urgency to get by, because you think, okay, it'll just drive through me. But I think they should still get out of their way, although let's get a handy DRS toe from Sambam, so I don't think he'll mind that too much. Ash Best has done 33 laps on those hard tyres. So that picks up another time penalty. So he's gone from no time penalties to 9 in the space of 5 or 6 laps, I think now. The voice is still going strong. This is about half distance for what would be the normal 50% distance. As Tipson pits. So here we go, let's see what's he going to go for. He's going to go for the hard compound, and that's going to see him through to the end of the race. And a decent pit stop from the Racing Point crew. This is going to put him out. Sophie's just coming out onto the main straight, so maybe some action between Sophie and Tipson straight away. Tipson getting up to speed. Sophie will still have some life left in those mediums, because we saw how far she took her soft tyres. Now Samban Kid right on the back onto the podium, and actually behind them is the Toro Rosso of ESR Blizzard, who's trying to get through. Or is that Abiodun? Let's see. We'll carry on with this battle. We won't worry about who's lapping who. No, it is actually Blizzard. So round the outside goes Samban Kid into P12 onto the podium, demoted. Samban Kid on those fresh soft tyres. Samban Kid ticks up 5-second penalty. I'm not sure about this ghosting system. I think there may have to be an understanding from the drivers that yes, they can ghost through you, but you've still got to treat it like you can't ghost and get out of their way, because you're picking up time penalties as a result. But then again, Sambam is no stranger to ignoring blue flags and causing a bit of mischief as a lapped car, as we have seen in PS2 F1 in the past. Now. So Will Murdoch now 4 seconds behind, but that's still good in terms of his gap. And who's out there? Is that the Racing Point? That was the Racing Point onto the podium, who's got mega wide out of the S's. Now Murdoch's about to lap him. So Sophie actually dropping time. So Tipson in a decent position as Samakid into the 116s we go. Fast out 116.870. And he'll be trying to chase a top 10 position, but he'll have to pit again. And now onto the podium. Fighting, at least thinking about fighting to get back in front of him as a lapped car, but thinking better of it. So Leon in P3 at the moment, sitting pretty for a podium. Apparently, Sparks may have retired. He may have been ill. So fair play to him for even turning up if he was ill and doing part of the race. So I hope he feels better soon. It's a great effort. Samuel picks up another time penalty. Well, I think I'm just gonna. I think when you get that many penalties, I'll just cross off his name, and I don't need to check him again because I know he's got so many time penalties. He'll probably be picking up a parking ticket the next time he comes to the pit lane next at this rate. So Sandbag Kid, 12 seconds behind Robot Sophie. Any battles developing? Not at the moment. Quite a field spread here at Mexico. I think the retirements have kind of killed a few potential battles for the time being. So hopefully we don't get any more. But this in a way is the nature of the race champions. It is a battle of attrition, and only the strongest will survive. Will Murdoch still in the box seat for this race of champions victory, which would be, I think, a surprise for some people. I think the likes of Blizzard, Lewis and Sparks would have gone into this as the pre-race favourites, but two of them are out of the race and Blizzard has time penalties, and we've still got 31 laps to go here in Mexico City. So Black Phoenix is 4 seconds behind Ash Best, who's done 36 laps, but I have to say, Gamer has done 38 laps on this medium compound. So if he can stretch this to use the softs at the end of the race, that is a magnificent effort. But he is losing time now. He's now 25 seconds behind the leaders. So he's over a pit stop behind the leaders now. But even so, I have to give him props for what he's trying to do here today. Yellow's in sector 2. Maybe a car slowing down. Doesn't seem to be any obvious slowing down at time. Looks like nobody's had an incident. Well, Gamer is known for someone who has often made the alternate strategy work with his great tyre wear. I do remember in my final F1 commentary season, he had this magnificent victory at Singapore in PS4 F1 where he made the alternate strategy work, and it was an unbelievable performance from him. And that's at times what Gamer could do. He never won the championship, but he had these drives at times which were just stunning. And Gamer finally pits onto the podium, into the pit lane as well, for racing points. And it's only 70 laps on the mediums. And again, Gamer, this is Gamer's first pit stop, and he's doing mediums to softs in a 100% race. If he manages that, that's probably driver of the day worthy off of that alone. AMS has overtaken the Gamer, but I think Gamer will make very short work of him. Ash Best into the pits. I think Ash Best, is he thinking about finishing on the softs? No, he's going for the mediums. I mean, if Gamer finishes on the softs and they're in decent condition, that is just unbelievable. So fair play to Gamer. He's found some sort of magnificent setup that no one else has. So we're going to get a battle between the two McLarens, although I think AMS may... Well, actually, they're not really actually teammates, so I think they may as well have a fight. Sandman Kid's actually close onto the back of Ash Best after his pit stop. Let's have a look at those two. Yeah, they're going through sector 1. So we've got some battles again. Thank you for your patience as this race of champions continues. Two McLarens and a battle between a Williams and a Mercedes, which would be very one-sided in real life, has to be said, unfortunately. I think Game of the Best will make sure work. So if this is his final stint, what can he do then? So he can overtake AMS, who's 8.6 seconds behind Oysen. And Oysen, he may have to pit again. I'd say he probably has to pit again. So what can Gamer do from here? He's going to overtake. It's going to be a simple overtake on AMS here. AMS was never going to fight that. He's a sensible driver. He knows the game is up. Different strategy. AMS will be pitting again. So Gamer, he's trying to do something truly dramatic here. And the trouble is, Oysen is 23 seconds behind the top 4. So I think Gamer, realistically, 5th could well be the best he can do. Oh, Blizzard's picked up another time penalty. That is 12 seconds now on lap 41 with 30 laps to go. And I think Blizzard's chances of winning a second Race of Champions crown are slipping further and further away out of sight and more into the hands of Murdoch and Leon in terms of the top two. Because as it stands, Blizzard would finish third position. Let's have a look at Sandbang Kid. Looks like his softs are going off already. I thought he would be able to get onto the back of Ashbeth, but maybe Ashbeth just has a little bit more pace at this point, so doesn't look like we're going to have a battle between those two. But look at that, Gamer's already pulled 2 seconds on AMS on those fresh softs. That just underlines. And I think Gamer, we may do a lap with him just to see if he can smash the lap record, at least in terms of this particular race. So the fast lap at the moment is a 1:16.870 from Sandbang Kid. So let's go on board with Gamer then for a lap here. The Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. It's going to be a storming run down to turn 1, going well over 200 miles an hour, around 350 kilometers an hour for those of you who use that system. And into the first section of the corner, all the way down to third gear. Nice entry into the chicanes. That is smooth as you like for that first sector. Then heading down towards the end of sector 1, and this is one of the slower parts of the track. He'll be getting this all the way down to third gear once again. It might be second gear actually, just to aid with the traction. Runs a little wide, but it won't be too hurt by that. Down to almost 60 miles an hour, which is pedestrian for one of these Aero Monster 2019 Formula 1 cars. Through the S-bend he goes, and this looks absolutely on rails with these fresh tyres. And I hope I haven't cursed him. He suddenly bins it into the barrier. And then into the stadium section, and we are enjoying this lap and the slowest corner on the track here, almost down to 45 miles an hour, down to second gear, out of the final corner, and I think this is going to be a fast lap. This looks a fantastic lap. What's it going to be for Gamer? Is it going to be the fast lap? No, it's not, in fact. A 1:17 is personal best, but actually not fast enough to get the fastest lap. The Sandman Kid picks up, well, he must have, what, 50 second penalties by now? I know he doesn't, but it may as well be. He's picking them up like confetti at the moment. But with this pace, Gamer has half that 8-second gap to Oysen in 3 laps, which is pretty unbelievable. But will he do a double soft stint at the end of the race? Maybe. That's a theory of some of the drivers in the chat at the moment. But let's have a look at the top 2. Blizzard pits. So Blizzard pits then from the lead of the race. And is it going to be another set of mediums or softs? Let's have a look, see what he does. Into the pit lane comes the Toro Rosso, and it's going to be a set. Can't see at the moment. It is a set of mediums, I believe. It is indeed, and Abiadun goes by. A safety car would certainly be very ideal for Will Murdoch right now. Much best. Closing in on the back of Sophie, so I think we could get potentially a three-way scrap between Ashbeth and Sandbam, especially if Ashbeth can't clear this Huss straight away. Lap 44 here of this Race of Champions on Psgl. Thank you very much for everyone who has stuck around. We've seen some great racing action here today. It's been sort of high and lows. There have been some lull periods, as you would expect from the 100% race, particularly with the field not being used to these races a lot of the time, and of course the retirement spreading the field out. But yeah, Ashbeth looks like he's got good pace at the moment on these fresh mediums, and he'll be looking to reach the end of the race on these, I'm sure. So Sophie likes this wider line out of the final corner. Will now attempt to defend her position of P10 from Ashbeth, the former Psgl F1 champion, as Black Phoenix picks up another time penalty. So Black Phoenix will have to pit again, but here comes Ashbeth. Sophie covers the inside. Ashbeth will break. Sophie tried to break a little later, but yeah, just didn't really have the tyres to defend that position. So Blizzard now, I think what Blizzard will be thinking is, yeah, can I maybe, eke out some early laps, get this gap? It just seems an insurmountable task for Blizzard to, unless Murdoch starts picking up time penalties in the closing laps, it just seems insurmountable for me for Blizzard to win this race at this point. Look at this, Game of the best pace is electric. Right on the back of Oysen already. I mean, he demolished that. He absolutely demolished that 8-second gap that was between AMS and Oysen early on. And, well, if I'm being honest, I don't think Oysen will even bother defending this. He's got no chance, absolutely no chance of defending this. Game of the best up to 5th position. So, really good effort from him. That is 12 places gained for Gamer, which is joint actually with Oysen, to be fair. As Black Phoenix pits then for Ferrari. It's another set of softs Yes, he had a 5-second stop go. So actually it's a set of medium. So that will take him to the end of the race. So that's good for him. Let's have a look at any other battles out there. I think onto the podium is he's nowhere near. He's a lap down. So I think Black Phoenix will be attempting to finish his race and get into the top 10. His competition will be Sandbang Kid, who will have to pit again, and F1 Sophie, who may not have to pit again. Given that her tyre wear's been pretty good today, seeing as what we saw her do on that long stint, but I don't know, maybe she'll have to pit again. We shall see. As Blizzard overtakes Abiodun, and I think that was easy like. Look at that, Sandman Kid's actually closed back onto Sophie. So let's check this for a few more moments, but no, I think Blizzard will have too much pace for Abiodun. So Sophie's medium seems to be going off just a little bit. Sophie just behind, just ahead of Sandman Kid, the F3 champion, up against his fellow F3 driver Sophie. So this could be an intriguing battle. Yellow's in sector 3. We are in sector 3. It's a very short sector. What's happened? Someone may have slowed down or something like that. Let's see anything happen. Onto the podium. Pits from that position. So Sandman Kid then attempting to make the move for P10 to get back into the top 10 of this race of champions. Well, Sophie, Sophie doesn't really defend it, but I think she knows that Sambam has to pit again anyway, which he will have to. I don't think he's going to get to the end on these softs. Game at 21 seconds behind P4. So Blizzard pitting earlier, so the gap for the leaders. So Blizzard is 13 seconds behind Murdoch. So at the moment you have a significant gap. But I think Murdoch, he's trying to stretch out the softs, the mediums rather, maybe to finish on the softs. But he's risking it a little bit because I think if he matched Blizzard's strategy, I think he would be comfortably within that penalty, as long as he doesn't get more penalties, of course. As Boomer picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's done 43 laps on those hard tyres. So that's actually a good indicator of how far they can go. So I think Tibson will finish the race from here. So I don't think he'll have to stop again. I think AMS, Oysen, Abiodun, I think they'll probably have to pit again. Will Murdoch, Leon, they will definitely be pitting again. Sophie, it's kind of a question mark for Sophie. She seems to have good tyre wear, but I think she'll have to pit again. Thompson Podium picks up a 5-second penalty for a normal blue flag. He's being lapped by Abiodun. Yeah, Abiodun trying to lap. As Abiodun picks up a 3-second time penalty itself. So we carry on then into lap 48 here. This race of champions and the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. Definitely need a gulp of water. So my throat is beginning to feel it just a little bit. But I will keep going until the bitter end. As we await to see who is crowned the race of champion, the champion of champions for season 23 of Psgl. Of course, it is a little more than bragging rights, but it is still a prestigious thing to win in Psgl. As Ashbest closes the gap now to Tibson. I think Ashbest, given the long stint we just saw him did, I think he'll be definitely aiming to finish on the set tires, and I think that's doable. So I think Ashbest will be thinking, well, I can get past Tibson, and maybe some other drivers pit ahead. I can get a gap and maybe have a chance. The only thing for Ashbest is if any of the guys ahead of him pit, they'll likely be on the soft, so he'll have a mighty task on his hand to keep those drivers behind. So Ashbest then, been almost, well, he is within DRS range now, but wasn't quite in time for the detection zone. The battle for P8 is about to be engaged here on lap 49 of this race of champions. The race order at the moment: Murdoch, Leon, Blizzard, Abiodun, Gamer, Oysen, AMS, Tibson, Ashbest and Sambang Kid making up the top 10. And we have had 6 retirements. And here comes Ashbest then going for a move down here. Oh, and a lock of the tyres. Oh, Will Murdoch picks up another time penalty. Now, some people think then that Will Murdoch may have had 6 seconds of time penalties before that, but I only saw 1, but we'll find out later as Tibson defends the position from Ashbest. Ashbest will think about a move into turn 7. It's not really a place where you make a move. They're going to go almost side by side through the S's. That's spectacular. But not quite. As Ashbest then will go to the outside. Tipson will try and cover him off as they enter the stadium section. Well, the crowd will love that. Side by side through the stadium section. This is one of the best battles of the race, but Ashbest will get the move done on the inside into turn 15. Tipson picks up a time penalty to boot. But Blizzard is massively undercutting Leon and Murdoch. So at the moment, Blizzard's, although he has more time penalties than his opposition, he is actually negating that. As Tipson tries to come back at Ashbest, goes round the outside through turn 1. And Ashbest's going to have better traction on the mediums, I think, to keep the position. But Tipson gets forced off fairly. Ashbest getting the elbows out just a little bit, but Tipson's going to try and fight this still. He's not pitting again, so he doesn't have to save tyres. And Tipson will make a late move down the inside, and he superbly retakes the place. But Ashbest is like, no, I'm not having any of that. I'm coming back down the inside. This is certainly the best battle we've seen in this race between the F5 champion and a former F1 Psgl champion. Ashbest round the outside through 7 will retake the position. They're giving each other plenty of respect and room here, and that is great to see. Great action here between Tipson and Ashbest. Tipson is still not going to give this up. Ashbest blatantly cuts the corner there, and that would have been a warning for sure. Tipson right behind Ashbest, and I think they're going to go at it again on the main straight. But the big question in terms of the battle for the leaders is when is Leon and Murdoch going to pit? If indeed at all, are they going to pit? But if they don't, the thing is, the gap, I think if they are going to pit, I think they've left it too long. Blizzard is now 1.2 seconds behind Leon. Blizzard, with all the penalties, despite the penalties, has really played himself back in. And here comes, oh, and that's a huge cut from Tipson. And he goes wide. And, well, surely that's an illegal overtake, even on the game. But yeah, I don't think Ashbest would have been that impressed with that. Tipson will argue he didn't have the room. Here comes Ashbest again. Is Tipson just kind of letting him through? Maybe he is, but no, they're going to go side by side once again through the beginning of sector 2. Through 5, 6, and up to 7. Ashbest once again moving up into position, but I need to focus my attention now for the battle for P2 because Blizzard has caught the back. Let's see Tipson just for a few more moments, because I think Tipson still thinks he can come back at Ashbest, but I think Ashbest may have finally won this particular scrap. But what a scrap it was. Certainly applaud their battling there, but look at that. All this battling has allowed Sambam to really close the gap on both of them. But he's got to pit again, so he's not really a factor at this point. As Blizzard now relentlessly closes down on a fellow Racer Champions winner, IRT Leon. Bentley versus Adler. Who's going to come out on top in this little exchange? Well, at the moment, with the much fresher tyres, you would bet all your money, your house, your mortgage, your wife even, on Blizzard getting through here. And I will have egg on my face if Blizzard doesn't get the move done right now. So here comes Blizzard. Leon, well, he's a very pragmatic driver. I don't think he will defend this, and no, he doesn't. I think he's playing a different game here. But the trouble is, when he pits, he'll be a pit stop behind Blizzard, if he is going to be pitting again. Blizzard definitely won't be. So I'm not sure about this strategy that Murdoch and Leon are doing. If they're doing a one-stop, it is not going to work. Let's have a quick look at Tipson. Is he closing the gap once again to Ashbest? He's still within DRS range, but not quite able to close the gap. And I wonder if Leon will be thinking, well, maybe I should have pitted a bit sooner and just gone for the safer strategy. I mean, yes, they'll smash the lap records on the late softs, but they'll have so much time to make up, even with the penalties Blizzard has. It may not be enough. Leon has 3 seconds of time penalties. Murdoch has 6 at least. Someone has gone off in sector 2, but no sign of... Actually, it might be Nabiadin, because he's just suddenly lost a ton of time. And Sambek pits then from P11. That's going to be another set of socks, so it's... oh yeah, he had the 5 seconds for not moving aside for the lap car, so that's going to be costly. Oh dear, and Tipson really struggling. Oh, that might be a bit of lag actually. But either way, he's now 1.1 seconds. So I'm just trying to figure out what Murdoch, are they hoping for a safety car? Because at the moment, they'll have will they have the laps to use the softs to get back up to Blizzard? Because Blizzard's tyres are not going to be that bad at the end of the race. We're on lap 53 now. It's a very curious strategy. I think Blizzard has got it spot on at the moment. But we are about to find out. What do you guys think in the chat? Do you think Blizzard has got it spot on in terms of the strategy at this point? Because I think pitting early for the mediums rather than eking out that second stint for the softs looks like the winning strategy at the moment, as far as I'm concerned. So 2 stops for Blizzard and Ash Best, 1 stops for the rest of the top 8. So here's Murdoch then, entering the stadium section. Is he going to pit now? Yes, he is. So I think he wasn't willing to wait. He's got to give himself a chance. He's got 6 seconds of penalties at least. Blizzard definitely has more. Blizzard will take the lead. Leon will carry on. So I'm guessing Leon's going to try and eke out to the end of the race. I guess that's the only explanation for him keeping going, because he's on 36 laps. So Murdoch then comes out. Abiodun will get past him at least. And I wonder if Abiodun will do Blizzard any favours, even though they're not really actually teammates. We'll find out. The game that carries on. Yeah, it looks like, as Oogie Azim says in the chat, that soft, medium is the strategy to be on. I think this is unfortunate for Murdoch. I think he waited a bit too long for this. I think he probably could have pitted slightly earlier than this. The problem is, he's on lap 54. By the time he reaches the end of the race, the best of the softs will probably be gone already. So I think Blizzard has got one hand on this Race of Champions trophy at this stage, especially now Will Murdoch now trapped behind this Taurus. I don't think he'll be trapped behind it for long, mind you. But here comes Will Murdoch then, hammering through the S's as Abiodun picks up another time penalty. Abiodun's reign as the Race of Champions king certainly about to come to an end, and Murdoch round the outside, he goes wider. Oh, Abiodun's been spun around. Oh, Abiodun probably felt like he left the space, but he's been spun around. Luckily, it's not really going to cost him too much, as Leon pits finally after 41 laps. So battle is on. Sambam, fastest lap of the race, 1:16.564, but I think Murdoch's about to obliterate that by the looks of it. Well, he's about to be unlapped by a ghosted car. Luckily, that won't interfere with Murdoch too much. Although that will just mean Sambam will probably get another 5-second penalty. So the gap between Blizzard and Murdoch into the closing laps is nearly 15 seconds. He's got to get a move on now. Leon comes out then, 3.8 seconds behind Abiodun, who's lost so much time. Any chance of him being on the podium, all but gone. And I wonder if Gamer might consider undercutting Abiodun right now for another set of softs. But he'll probably be trying to get to the end of the race, I'm sure. As Black Phoenix closes in on Tibson in the battle for P9. AMS pits, so he's on the softs. So I think the fastest lap is about to be obliterated here. 1:16.564 is the current one. As Ash Best and Oysen battle for P7. Tibson gets overtaken, and then Tibson's going to try and come back at the Ferrari. Oh, and nearly a bit of contact between the two. I think Black Phoenix is fresh mediums in comparison. Sam McKidd again goes fast of 1:16.235. Impressive. He's getting a tow from Murdoch. Murdoch's reduced the gap to 13.8 seconds already. He's got to get the hammer down big time here. As one Williams tries to overtake the other. The old Russell versus Kubica battle we've seen, pretty much the only Williams action we've seen the entire season for them, unfortunately. So Oysen, closing on Ash Best, has much more grip on those brand spank new soft tyres. Tibson's rivaling Sambam for most penalties in this race, because Tibson, he didn't have many early on, but he's been racking them up now, maybe tiring a little bit, the F5 driver. It is an exhausting race, 100%, having done a few myself. But Oysen trying to get ahead of Ash Best. This would be a nice moment for him, the F6 driver, overtaking and outfoxing the former F1 champion on strategy, seemingly. Let's see what Leon and Abiodun are up to. Oh, they're so close. Oh, Tibson's disconnected though. Oh, that's unfortunate. So he's going to lose that top 10 position. Has he had enough today? Maybe an Abiodun tries once again to defend from Leon. Leon will go through the stadium section and the crowd roars, so they get a nice little battle for section. Abingdon just cut the corner there. And he forces Leon almost into the wall. Well, showing one king not showing respect to another former king of this race of champions, and Leon's going to be right. Well, I'm not going to have any of this nonsense. Abingdon, I think, is trying to get to the end of the race, so that may give Game half a chance. Abingdon does a bit again. Oh, slight contact between the two in the battle for P3. Side by side, it's 12-second gap between Murdoch and Blizzard now. May go down to the closing laps. But I think Leon will have the inside for turn 4 and make it down. Oh, Blizzard's got another time penalty. That's 15 seconds now. Oh, contact between the two. Contact between Blizzard, Abingdon and Leon. Abingdon's lost half his wing. Abingdon's retired from the session. It is an ignominious end to his reign as the race of champion on Psgl. Well, that was just avoidable all round, I would say. Leon has more than likely secured 3rd place of that game, or will be promoted to 4th. Abingdon will be absolutely furious about how the last 2 laps have gone. He had contact not so long ago, and then again with Leon. That promotes Oyston up to P5, Ashbeth to P6. So the big story now is, what can Murdoch do? He is less than 11th. He's less than 12 seconds now behind Blizzard. It could go to the final few laps here in terms of the penalty situation. Murdoch, I believe, has 6 at least, maybe even 9. Blizzard has. He has 15 seconds. If he loses the race champions, it will be because of that. Here we go then. AMS versus Black Phoenix. Battle for P7. The middle of the race didn't have much action, but my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting a lot of it now. Here comes AMS around the outside. It's so difficult to go around the outside here because there's just not a lot of room in the apex. AMS up to P7. Oh, they're ghosting that. Because Blizzard is right behind them now. So these two are about to be lapped. So Blizzard has lapped all the way up to P8 and P7. That's pretty impressive. And so it's F1 versus F2 in the top 2. Leon now 16 seconds behind. He stayed out way too long on those mediums. He completely played himself out of contention with that. Black Phoenix then is going to try and come back. AMS has got more straight line speed. We've seen the straight line speed stat, and he sweeps around the outside superbly. Great move from Black Phoenix. AMS will have to come again, but they're going to have to get out of the way though, because they're getting blue flags. I think the ghosting system, I think there is a bit of a misunderstanding how it works. I think they still have to get out of the way, still being lapped after all, because otherwise you're just giving yourself 5 seconds of penalties, which just isn't going to help your cause. So we have 13 runners left, 7 retirements, quite a lot. I think that's as many retirements as we saw in the last one at Germany in F1 2018 at least. So here comes AMS. Still getting blue flags, but he's thinking, well, you know what? I don't care. This is personal now between me. McLaren versus Ferrari, a battle for the ages, like the old times in Formula 1. 2 most successful teams in Formula 1. AMS gets a 5-second penalty before the blue flags. 10.7 seconds now between Murdoch and Blizzard. Blizzard probably won't mind at all this, because he's getting nice toes every single lap. He'll probably think, well, I'll just stick behind these guys for the rest of the race and just get constant DRS. And that's not bad at all. It's going to make it awkward for these two to even overtake though, because they can't really do a move. And imagine if Blizzard gets past them. I think finally AMS is going to concede. As Sandbank Kid will go around the outside of Tibson. Tibson's rejoined the session. Great braking by Tibson to defend the place. Fair play. He's got really old hards compared to Sandbank's fresh, soft tyres. Oyston picks up another time penalty. So here comes Sandbank Kid then, trying to out-drag him into turn 4. Gets it slowed down. Oh, and he's trying to come back at him, Tibson, but the F5 champion couldn't do it. He's still on for... Actually, I don't think he'll... To be fair, I don't think he will finish. He's got so many time penalties. But he has given us a few excellent moments. And once again, well, Blizzard's finally got past these 2 back markers. I think they've both each got a ton of penalties as a result of it. But Blizzard's actually lost a bit of time because of that. But that may be because of Murdoch's pace as well. 10-second gap now. It may be a few tenths at the end. Black Phoenix will get DRS from Blizzard possibly. So that may aid him in his defense, and yes, he does. So AMS carries on his pursuit of the Ferrari of Black Phoenix, the F3 driver who finished third last season in the Ferrari against the FP runner-up of AMS. One of the most experienced drivers on the grid. Just have a quick look at Tibson. Tibson, is he closing a sandbag? No, he is not. So the main battle on track as we enter the final 11 laps of this particular track. And this race of champions here in Mexico. And a big slide at the back end from AMS as he heads round. So AMS heading out into the middle part of the middle sector through the S's. Lovely sequence of corners when you get them right. If you don't have the cars set up correctly for it. So, and this is the worry I have. These cars are going to ghost at the same time, or come out ghosting, and they'll just have a massive collision. So it might be good actually if Blizzard just kind of, you know, gets away from these two a little bit, just to, so they can actually battle properly again. So Blizzard carries on, 9.2 seconds gap. Murdoch is doing enough at the moment, I think, to get into range of Blizzard, but I think he needs a little bit more time. Maybe another, if he can get the gap under 6 seconds, I think he's done it. Still got plenty of laps to go. Black Phoenix is just using the DRS of from Blizzard just to keep ahead of AMS at the moment, and I think Blizzard will be a bit distracted by the battle going on behind him, it has to be said. Well, to answer JSG's question, they added it to, I think, to stop people slowing down on purpose, as they have done for years in the games, and taking out the leaders, but not sure if this system's suitable for like longer races like this, where you're not going to get that normally. As Leon picks up 3-second time penalty, but that shouldn't threaten him at all. I think he will still be finishing on the podium. So AMS, he'll be kind of thinking, well, can Blizzard just go away so I can actually overtake Black Phoenix, because I can't, because he's constantly getting DRS. So he must be a little bit frustrated in the McLaren as he picks up a 3-second time penalty, and that, I think, sums up his frustration he must be feeling right now, because this is a slightly ridiculous situation, but perfectly, what Black Phoenix is doing is perfectly fair. He's taking advantage of the DRS system here to defend a position, and it's quite smart, you have to say. Murdoch now 8.2 seconds behind Blizzard as we enter the closing laps. Black Phoenix, well, any advantage you get may be negated by that 3-second time penalty. He just got on lap 63. So your race order, Blizzard being chased down by Murdoch. Leon in P3, Gamer in P4. Superb drive from Gamer, who's attempting a ludicrous strategy. At least he tried it. He has on a 2-stop now, the medium soft stop. So Black Phoenix trying to defend. Well, Blizzard's pace is not good enough at the moment. He's just not able. And here comes AMS. He's thinking, well, if you can ghost, I'll just go through you. Who are you going to call? AMS. Ghost busting. At least he's trying to. It's kind of a bizarre. Then his car unghosts. So, and AMS slides out of the final corner, cuts the pit lane a little bit, but I don't think he got any penalties for that. Samba Kid picks up. Well, I don't know if you guys have been keeping score at home, but the amount of penalties Sambam's got, it would have been a good drinking game, and we would be all on the floor right now. But AMS trying to get ahead of Black Phoenix. Let's have a look though at Will Murdoch, because Will Murdoch heading through Sector 1, his pace has been electric since going on those softs. But will they go off at the wrong time? His fastest lap is nearly 7/10 quicker than Blizzard's. Samba Kid actually looking like he's going to get the fast lap of the race at this point, which is pretty impressive. Just a shame he couldn't really keep those penalties down, because he'd be on for a pretty good result. And Abudan has joined the chat. His reign as Racer Champions King is over, but he certainly had some moments. if you can give your polite impression of those last few laps, we had some incidents, that would be entertaining, at least for the chat. Will Murdoch now 6.6 seconds, and if anything at this pace, Blizzard may actually get overtaken on track before the end of the race anyway. But Will Murdoch, he knows he can't get any more penalties at this stage. He's got to just keep it together. And I wonder if AMS has ruined his tyres with all this following behind Black Phoenix. He's just dropped back a little bit from the Ferrari driver now. Wasn't able to get ahead of him. Quite large intervals now between some of the drivers. And that is what happens when you have... It happens even in 50% races when you get a lot of retirements. You just don't get as many battles as you normally would. We have seen some pretty good action, especially early on. And then sort of a few laps ago we had some great battles. Ash Best versus Tipson, for example. That was the best battle of the race, I would say. So Leon's now fallen 26 seconds behind Blizzard. So Blizzard's done a great job outside the penalties. He's really killed this race off. But I think Murdoch, as long as he doesn't get another time penalty, I think if he gets the gap onto 6 seconds, he will be the winner of this race. But we've still got a few laps to go here. The Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. AMS then trying in vain. But I think Black Phoenix's strategy of just following Blizzard has worked an absolute treat, because he's just getting all this extra toe on the straight and he doesn't overtake Blizzard at the end of the straight. It's absolutely brilliant what he's done. It's worked perfectly well. But, you know, in terms of the winners and losers of positions gained and all that, we'll have a look at that. Yeah, 13 gained for Gamer, Oyson and Ash Bear, so they've had really good days. Sophie's gained 9 places, although I think she wouldn't have minded finishing in the top 10. I think even finishing this race is an achievement, particularly for those lower tier drivers who aren't used to long races like this. So, you know, like to onto the podium and boom, fair play to them if they end up finishing this race. So that's Boomer about to be lapped again, I believe. 2 laps down on the race leader. Make that 3 laps. So Blizzard has now lapped all the way up to P6. Ashbest is in the same section, so Blizzard might catch him, but look at this. Murdoch is now 5.5 seconds behind. Will we get a battle for an actual on-track battle for the lead? Forget the penalties. Will we get a battle right at the end of the race? That's going to be the question. As we approach 9:30 UK time, Yellow's in sector 2. So someone's slowing down, or doesn't appear to be any. Just have a look. No, it's Oyson. No, I thought it might be an Oyson. Boomer pits then, maybe thinking about snatching the fastest lap right at the death. So 23 laps on those medium tyres. Will Murdoch has done 13 on his softs. He's got to keep some life in them though, but as we saw from Gamer and Robot's Sophie, aka F1 Sophie now, they did long stints on the softs, so I think comfortable tyre wear wise. So in terms of the stops, let's have a look at that. So 2 stops for everybody in the top 6, 3 stops for Black and Sandband Kid. Boomer's actually done a 2-stop strategy himself. So Murdoch relentlessly trying to ease into Blizzard's time advantage. He probably doesn't have enough time to actually catch him and pass him, but he will have time as long as he doesn't make any huge mistakes. AMS being caught. Look at that, he can look to the left and see Blizzard escaping from the stadium section. There was about 10 more laps of this, he could probably catch him. But Blizzard, he knows now that those time penalties have probably cost him, because outside of that he's driven superbly today, as you would expect from one of the most successful Psgl F1 drivers. But AMS has now dropped nearly 4 seconds behind Black Phoenix, and that battle must have shredded his tyres into nothing. It's now 5 seconds between Blizzard and Murdoch. And the only mystery really left in this race is, has Murdoch not had enough penalties to deny him the victory here? Because at the moment I do believe Blizzard has 15 seconds of penalties, I know that for sure. Murdoch, well, he may have 6 or 9 seconds of penalties, I'm not entirely sure. I've definitely seen him pick up 2, that is for sure. Some people in the chat say they may have seen an extra one earlier on. Black Phoenix picks up another time penalty. It's going to be quite interesting to see how many time penalties there are at the end of this race. Lap 68 then. Murdoch enters the stadium section. AMS picks up another time penalty. Well, you've got to feel sorry for the poor stewards. They've probably teared their hair out. The amount of penalties they have dished out here today. They'll be having a well-earned rest at the hotel in Mexico City later on, that is for sure. 4.9 seconds then. 3 laps to go then in the Race of Champions. It's not exactly the battle for the lead that you would want to see as, oh, and Blizzard, we just saw it flash up for a second. He's picked up another time penalty. That is now 18 seconds of time penalties. 18! If Leon was closer, he would be dropping out of the top 2. And that, unless Murdoch has an absolutely shocking final few laps or gets a puncture or something like that, that is surely going to hand victory to the F2 driver in his first Race of Champions. Could be well another surprise winner. Because the last Race of Champions, Abudan was not expected to win it, and he did. But that's what Race of Champions can often throw up when you mix all these different leagues and drivers together from the same establishment. You can get these results. But Will Murdoch, he was a match pace-wise for the F1 drivers such as Sparks early on. Kept Blizzard honest throughout the race, and he hasn't really forced Blizzard into his points. That's the thing. It's been unforced errors. Blizzard's just pushed a little bit too hard on the wheel. But again, Mexico, much like Canada, very unforgiving for time penalties. Penultimate lap then here at the Autódromo Hermanos. Rodríguez and Will Murdoch is on course for victory here in the Race of Champions, unless something dramatic happens in the final approximately 9 kilometers that we have left here of this Race of Champions. And for those of you who are still watching, a big thank you for staying with us. It has been an endurance for these drivers. It's certainly been endurance for me. Well, Will Murdoch, who knows? Is he getting a promotion to F1 next season? Well, this may well seal it. If he wasn't promoted, it may make the powers that be who are making the placements vote change their mind, I think. As Ashbeth in P6 at the moment. That's a little moment through the stadium section. So then we enter the final lap of this race. As Blizzard crosses the line. Got Ashbeth just ahead of him. He's not going to be overtaken on track in a single lap unless Blizzard just makes a huge error somewhere. But he's going to win this race on track. But has he cost himself with unforced errors of a second Race of Champions crown? Because it looks like Will Murdoch is going to do it. Through the sector 1 they go. 5-second gap. As Blizzard, wow, that has surely sealed it. 21 seconds. 21 seconds of time penalties now. Blizzard has gone to pieces. He has bottled it like England in a penalty shootout. And that is a real shame for him. But still, he will still get a podium today. That is for sure. But Will Murdoch then heading through the sweeping S-bend section. We get a lovely camera shot. And we are heading towards the line. And Blizzard is going to win it on track. Heads through the same section as the confetti rises out of the same section. A huge roar. Blizzard will punch the air in delight to win it on track at least. But I don't think it's going to be good enough to win it. We're about to find out. Blizzard crosses the line on track. But it is Will Murdoch, I believe, who is going to cross the line and win the Race of Champions on Psgl on F1 2019 to end season 23. And we're going to just wait for Leon to cross the line in a very credible P3, a former Race of Champions winner. He'll be pretty pleased with that effort, the F3 driver. So we get 3 different tiers in the top 3, and I think that's pretty much what you want to see from an event like this. It's not been dominated by any tier. And here comes, well, Gamer. He really is, in my view, one of the best. It's final Psgl race, and it's going to be P4 for Gamer. And only 4/10 of a podium, my goodness. Leon had got any more penalties, he would have been screwed. It's going to be a long, long wait. And the likes of Black Phoenix, AMS, Sophie and Sandman, they've all finished. So we're waiting for the two Williams drivers. But let's go on board with Will Murdoch to enjoy his moment. The race of champions, champion of champions. He has done it. What a great effort from Murdoch. 7 seconds ahead of Blizzard in the end because of those time penalties, but very well driven. I think he only had 6. Well, we'll find out after the race how many penalties there were. Just waiting for... Where is onto the podium? Onto the podium. He's doing some donuts. I think we missed most of them, unfortunately. I didn't realise that's what he was doing, but it's his final PSGL race. So let's give him a nice moment as he crosses the line. A real staple of the community in recent years. And he finishes the race. And in the end, he finished the race in P12, but great credit for all of those who finished today. It started off dramatically. It finished dramatically in some respects. Here's the podium there. Will Murdoch, well, he'll be bouncing around the garage later on after that fantastic victory in the Red Bull today. F2 champion and Race of Champions victory. What a season he's had. He's really pulled a surprise out here today, finishing ahead of a very well-established names. Blizzard, a 2-time F1 champion. Well, Will, is he off to F1 next season? And based on this performance, is he going to be the man to challenge Lewis next season for the F1 championship? Well, let's confirm the result of this race, and then we will have a quick chat among ourselves before we end this broadcast. There will be no interviews tonight, given the length of the broadcast. And I get 30 experience points for a 100% race. Well, thank you, Codemasters. Will Murdoch, 9 seconds of penalties, wins the Race of Champions, 7 seconds ahead of Blizzard, who had 21 seconds of penalties. 12 seconds for Leon. Game of the best. The only driver who finished who had no penalties. If he'd been close to the front, he could even have won this race. But for P4 from P17, pretty good. Oyster Nash best. Great efforts from the back of the grid. P18, 19, they started 5th and 6th, they finished. Black Phoenix in P7, incredible effort for the F3 driver. AMS in PA. Sophie in P9 from the back of the grid, really good effort. Only 3 seconds penalty for her. Sandman Kid had not many penalties, a mere 33 seconds. Tibson in P11, onto the podium, P12. Boomer, your final finisher. So, excellent stuff from him. So, well, a few quick words in the chat. Let us know who your driver of the day was. So, there's a few candidates. I think Will Murdoch, Gamer, I would say, are definitely up there for contention. But if I had to choose, then yeah, I'm going to give it to Will. I think he had great pace throughout the race, just to keep Blizzard sort of in that sort of position where, you know, sometimes Blizzard does get these unforced errors of time penalties. It's something he's known for, and that's what cost him today. And well, game of the best. Well, if he had done the medium to soft stint, that would have been probably driver of the day worthy in itself. But he didn't quite have the tyre life to do it in the end. The softs just don't really last that long ultimately. But the Gamer can certainly hold his head high with that fantastic display from the back of the grid to get to P4 and only a few tenths off the podium, which would have been great effort. But maybe he lost a little bit too much time fighting some of the guys in traffic. But some of the people in the chat agreeing with me, getting Will as the driver of the day. Well, let's see, how long has this broadcast been? Well, we have passed the 2-hour mark, and this is actually the longest PSGL broadcast I've ever done, even longer than that infamous Singapore race back when the game was just completely broken that day. And so we get a nice shot of the car that won the last Mexican Grand Prix before its long hiatus back in 1992, which Nigel Mansell won in the old format of the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. Well, there's going to be no interviews this evening, but I just want to briefly mention the calendar. Season 24 is almost upon us. Evaluation races took place last week. The placements for Season 24 will take place tomorrow live on this channel. Big C and Iran will be taking you through all of the grids. There's one less division this season. F7 waved goodbye after 3 really good campaigns. So we now have F1, F2, F3, F4, F5 and F6 and Formula Performance. So we have 7 leagues for PSGL in season 24. And this is your calendar. So we start off at Azerbaijan, Bahrain and France before heading off to Canada, Russia and Germany, and finishing at Monaco before the Christmas break. I think some people would not consider that a Christmas present. Then after that we have Hungary, Italy and Austria finishing off the European rounds before Singapore, Japan, and ironically the last race of that season will be Mexico, and maybe there'll be another race of champions. Well, I have to say I've really enjoyed my time on the Race of Champions here today. We saw some great action. It wasn't the most dramatic race, but we have a very worthy winner, and his name is Will Murdoch. A big congratulations to the podium and everyone who finished. Well, it's been great once again to be here. So, as I used to say so often, thanks for watching, and see you next time. And see you in season 24 on this channel for Psgl.